All right, let's run it back to Duke taking on Virginia Tech. And remember, Duke has not lost on the road yet, but they're playing their second game in a row without that guy, Zion Williamson, mild knee sprain that he's dealing with. Well, R.J. Barrett might have been dealing with a little bit of an illness, feeling nauseous early, and so were his threes. You can see missing there, pulls up from three again, can't get it to go. Barrett was 1 for 7 in field, or all throughout the field, and 4 points in the first half, and Duke was down 3 at the half. Second half, though, things changed a little bit. Barrett pulls up from the free throw line. That's good. Can't shoot the 3. Knocked down 2. Duke down 3. Barrett again. Let's just take him off the dribble. Remember, he's a lefty. He's going to his right. He finishes with his left, and that's good. Duke down just 1. Zion loves it. We want to see him on the court, though. Marquise Bolden, the finish is good. Barrett with the assist, and ultimately, Barrett finishes with 21 points, finishes 7 for 8 in the second half, but it's not quite enough to get Duke the win. They lose 77-72, and Barrett finishes with 21. Now, RJ was definitely good inside the arc, going 7 for 9, but he continued to struggle from 3. He's shooting 27% on 3s since Zion got hurt, compared with 34% before that. And Barrett was not the only one that has struggled, though, without Zion. The Blue Devils were outscoring opponents by more than 20 points per game when Zion went down, but have been outscored since that point. And there's no surprise then that Duke has dropped 2 of their last 3, including the UNC game, remember, and that was at home in which Zion got hurt. That's as many losses as they had in the first 25 games of this season.
All right, elsewhere, we had OKC and Denver in what was a huge game last night in the Western Conference between good teams and Jalen. Let's talk about Isaiah Thomas. How does he get that one to go?
Great to see him back out there being productive. I think as the season progresses, he's going to continue to play quality minutes for a Denver Nugget team that's going to fare really high in the West.
Now, no one's playing better minutes for them than that guy. That's Nikola Jokic showing you the range. They had a 13-point halftime lead. Now, a weird sequence. We talked about this at some length earlier. Russell Westbrook on the sideline there is touched from behind by a fan. Just sort of reaches out and taps him. It's a kid. Russell takes exception to it. He goes over. He handles it very well, very calmly, has a conversation with the kid and with his father. In the end, no one is injured, no one hurt. All is well there. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Anyway, closing seconds of the third quarter, that's Paul George throwing up a 3, and it's good. He would have only 12 points through 3, and the Thunder are down 13, but watch them come storming back in the fourth quarter, led by Paul George. Watch him here in the corner. Step back. That's good. He finished with 25. Thunder within 8, and they're not done. Tied at 97. Just over 6 minutes left. Jalen, how about the range? Russell Westbrook.
Virtually unstoppable, Greeny, when he's knocking down shots from three-point range.
He had 22 points, 14 rebounds, but then the Nuggets, when they needed answers, they would find Jamal Murray in the corner. Yes, Nuggets back up 2. And then still in the fourth, it's Jokic. Such a good passing big man. Again, finding an open Murray. Nuggets take a 6-point lead. Thunder still down 6. Just over a minute to go. Desperation time. Westbrook loses it out of bounds. Frustrated. Thought it should have been off the other man. It doesn't make any difference one way or the other. It's going to be too little too late. Jokic would leave to a standing ovation from the home crowd as he had 36 points, 10 boards, and 9 assists. The Nuggets are 42-18. Their best record ever through 60 games. And BPI says the Warriors have an 84% chance to be the 1 seed in the West, meaning we could see Thunder Nuggets in the conference semis. If so, BPI would give Denver a 60% chance to win that series if they had home court advantage. In other news, let's give credit where it's due. We talked about this yesterday. DeMarcus Cousins got a technical for throwing this shoe off the floor in their game the other night. You can't throw anything into the stands, but this was clearly a different circumstance. Let's give credit where it's due. They rescinded the technical yesterday. Jalen, we said they should, and that's exactly what they did. Credit where it's due to the league office. Maria.
Well, we got some more news in the West, and let's talk about the Lakers because they're back in action tonight, Greeny, and they host the Pelicans, who just beat them this weekend. They're tied for 10th in the West, 3 games out of the playoffs, and yesterday on the jump, Paul Pierce said something we haven't heard. It's time to sit LeBron?
If I were the Lakers, I would shut LeBron down.
What?
I mean, no, seriously. I mean, he's getting older. He has to do too much for them to win. I mean, just look at, he puts out a triple-double, and they can't win. I mean, just imagine if he really goes out and really exerts himself and has to go for 40.
You're giving up on the season now.
I mean, this season was a wash coming into it. They weren't contending. And when you're LeBron James, they weren't contending from the jump.
All right, so that is Paul Pierce's take. We got Zach Lowe back here, and you heard what he said. time to sit LeBron. What was your immediate reaction to hearing that?
No chance. Come on, it's still LeBron James. You spend your whole life in the Eastern Conference beating up on these bad teams, coasting to the finals. Year one in the West, you hit some adversity, you can't even make the playoffs. Come on, get on the floor, make the playoffs.
But they're not. I mean, the point is, it's not a question of whether he should or shouldn't. They can't. They've shown you they can't. They can't beat Atlanta. They can't beat Memphis. They can't beat New Orleans without Anthony Davis the other day. At some point, when it becomes clear, another couple of games, if it doesn't turn around and it becomes clear they're not going to make the playoffs, a conveniently timed LeBron retweaking of his groin would not be the worst idea.
How about this? So they're only 3 games back from a playoff spot. The teams ahead of them, the San Antonio Spurs, are struggling. The Clippers don't want to make the playoffs so they can retain their first-round pick. They don't want it to go to the Celtics. And the Sacramento Kings have not been there yet. You can't punt on the season when you're still in contention with arguably the best player in the league. That's absurd.
I just think that Paul Pierce's argument is, what is the point in making the playoffs and being the 8th seed and ultimately playing against the Warriors and getting swept? That's what I think his point is. So the bigger picture is the progress that we're trying to make as a Lakers organization. We weren't able to get, the trade that we wanted, so we didn't get to add the piece that we need to have with LeBron, and we're struggling mightily against some teams that we shouldn't. Is there some validity to what he said?
The point is, you've been an embarrassment for 5 years. You're the starriest, glitziest franchise. You're the Los Angeles Lakers. And you get LeBron James on your team. You need to make the playoffs. Like, this is the whole point of this. Is like, you need to get back, get center stage playoffs. You're the Lakers. If you were talking about the Grizzlies or something, I could get it. This is the Lakers.
But what is the answer to her question? It's a legitimate question.
What's the point?
You're going to trade all these young guys anyway. None of them are going to be there if you have your way next year. So it's not like you're getting them any meaningful experience. If they get it, it's going to be for another team. The guys they signed on 1-year contracts are all going to be gone. What are they actually gaining by making it?
Well, first of all, you could increase their trade value if they play well in the playoffs or discover some new stuff about, hey, maybe these guys have a little more fortitude than we're giving them credit for. Number 2, as Jalen just said, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If all the issues you just said about all the bad losses, totally fair. If they got hot, it's not out of the realm that they could get to 7. And if you get to 7, your world's a little different.
And remember, let's just point out the fact that Jalen said the Lakers will not make the playoffs.
He's been on it from the beginning.
They will not make it. So with that in mind, playing LeBron James,
Playing LeBron James because he's your best player, and he's the guy that's here to set the culture. The other night in Memphis, there were some shots where I felt like LeBron James settled. Low percentage plays that he doesn't normally make. On defense, he was non-existent.
Chill mode.
The effort wasn't there. The enthusiasm wasn't there. You want LeBron James to be the heart and soul of your basketball team. If you take that away, it becomes a disaster. You become a team that now your home fans start to boo. You don't want that with your squad.
I think it is already tiptoeing towards being a disaster. I have bad news for the folks in L.A. By the way, you're going to see them tonight on ESPN. We got a Wednesday doubleheader. These are really good games. It starts in Boston. Great point guard matchup between Kyrie and the Celtics and then Dame Lillard and the Blazers. And then we go to Staples Center. LeBron and the Lakers taking on the Pelicans. Who knows what's going to happen with Anthony Davis. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown at 7 on ESPN, and it's on the ESPN app.
The wall. Pierce has got another.
Left field. Goodbye. Home run. Mookie Betts.
How about Steve Pierce? He's got another.
Sale fires. Swing and a miss. The Red Sox have won the World Championship.
So that was last year. What does this year hold? The Astros and Yankees right now have the best odds to win the World Series. They're both 6-1, according to the Westgate. Last year's World Series teams, the Dodgers and Red Sox, has 7-1 odds to do so. And so, as Mark Teixeira is back with us again, I think 90% of the baseball conversation on the national level is centered on the two guys, Harper and Machado, and where would they wind up going. So let's catch you up on, we're going to call these like sneaky big stories, things you may have missed that are actually very significant around the sport. The floor is yours, Mark Teixeira.
Yeah, there's actually another offseason this year in Major League Baseball, not just Harper Machado. And for me, I think the offseason started, in my eyes, with the Mets bringing in Brody Van Wagenen as the outside-of-the-box GM. This guy's an agent. This has never happened before in baseball, but you bring in Robinson Cano, you bring in Edwin Diaz, you still have Syndergaard, you still have DeGrom, and you still have Zach Wheeler. The Mets can make a move this season and get into the playoffs.
I like that very much. What's next?
What's next for me is the Cubs. For the Cubs, in what they've been the last few years, had a bad offseason. Their fans are going all over the place. Why didn't you sign somebody? The reason they didn't sign somebody, they had $53 million in Jason Hayward, in Yu Darvish, and Tyler Chatwood. They didn't have any money to spend. And Pacoda is expecting them, their projection, last place in the NL Central, which is ridiculous.
I saw that. It's stunning considering how much talent they have. Next, in that same division, Cardinals.
The Cardinals have taken over the Cubs. I mean, I truly believe that the Paul Goldschmidt signing was the best move of the entire offseason. This guy's a stud. He's a free agent year. He's going to go out and have a huge year for the Cardinals. You bring in Andrew Miller, who, when healthy, is the most dominant left-hander reliever in all of baseball. The Cardinals have some good young talent. They fired Mike Matheny last year. They went on and won a whole bunch of games at the end of the season and almost made the playoffs last year.
And then finally, Yankees, Red Sox.
The Yankees have overtaken the Red Sox. They brought in James Paxton to be the number 2 guy. They brought back J.A. Happ. You're going to get a better year from Gary Sanchez. If Aaron Judge stays healthy, if Giancarlo Stanton stays healthy, they're going to be better. And first base last year was a disaster until Luke Voit came in. If all those guys get better, the Yankees will be better than the Red Sox, and they're going to win the World Series.
And going to win the World Series, says Mark Teixeira, and we're not even in March. Well done. SportsCenter tonight, 6 Eastern, after PTI. Sage and Kevin looking ahead to Pelicans and Lakers inside the turmoil of Anthony Davis, plus Todd McShay's most important players to watch at the Combine, and Trevor Lawrence leads Clemson into their first spring practice. SportsCenter, 6 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Maria.
All right, Greeny, things are going to look a little bit different for the Green Bay Packers because the Packers and Aaron Rodgers have a brand new coach after Matt LaFleur was brought in this offseason to shake up the offense just a little bit. And on Tuesday, Packers president Mark Murphy said it's time for Aaron Rodgers to embrace changes. Let's actually take a look at the exact quote, though. He has to embrace change, and I think he is. I hope he adapts well. I'm excited, and I know that he's excited. As always, excited because Dan Orlovsky's here to help us unpack some of the things that we're seeing and hearing and give us some context to just how much change, we're going to see Aaron Rodgers have to embrace.
This is the greatest challenge or adversity that Rodgers has ever faced in his career. I mean, we got to remember that he's been with Mike McCarthy, who they fired last year, his whole career in Green Bay for 13 plus years. And this is not an organization that's been a part of change. I mean, he had Donald Driver as a receiver, was there for 8 years. Greg Jennings there for 9 years. Jordy Nelson there for 9 years. Cobb there for 8 years. Those guys are gone. And so this is not a place or a player who's been used to change. This is a stable organization. So now you've got a new coach, new voice. You've got a new system or scheme. You got all new players. Something he's literally never experienced before as a pro. And so this is going to be a huge challenge for him, not only literally on the field, but just going to work every day. You've got new voices, new people. What's our schedule like? What's our meetings going to be like? You hear Matt LaFleur saying he wants to be in every single quarterback meeting. That's a challenge for people.
You can look at it one of two ways, though, right? You can look at it as, boy, this is going to be a challenge, or a fresh start for someone who at times looked like maybe he needed one.
No, I've been outspoken thinking that I really like this new start. But this doesn't mean it's going to be a no-brainer because, again, you've as a 35, 36-year-old guy who's never experienced it, we all know as an adult, you don't really want to change stuff. And so this is like totally doing something your whole life one way, and then, hey, we're going to do it this way now. And so that's going to be the mix is like Matt LaFleur wants to do stuff this way, but Aaron's going to be like, hey, bro, I've been pretty successful doing it this way. It's got to be a really, really healthy and compromising marriage.
It'll be interesting to see what they do in free agency as well. The name Le'Veon Bell's been kicked around a good deal. As we continue, you know that there are a lot of NBA teams out there that are not trying for Zion and all sorts of tanking. I'm going to tell you the biggest problem with tanking in a moment. Stay with us for the discussion.